Would you guys honor and welcome Bill and Mary Smith as they come up? Open your hearts to receive. Amen. Bless you guys.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Pastor Zach is going to translate now. I'm going to speak in Spanish and he's going to translate. Come on, Zach. Good night, everybody. We are so happy to be here tonight. We are so happy to be in our church with our family. This church is been with us and supporting us since what was it, 1993. Yeah, the first time we got here was 1993. So we've been part of this church since that time, missionaries out of this church. And this is our home church. And we are loving it, what we see, what God is doing in this place, all these new families, all these new people that we have been meeting in these 3 weeks. We're going to leave next week, next Tuesday. But it's been such a pleasure to be here, to see what God is doing in here, because what God is doing in this here, He's doing it all over the place. He's doing it in Mexico, just His presence, and what God is doing in this place is the same God that we have in Mexico. So thank you so much for embracing us. Thank you so much for loving us. Thank you so much for loving Mexico. Because I know Zach loves Mexico, loves the Mexican people, loves the Mexican food, and he speaks Spanish too. So, anyway, I'm just going to leave this time to my husband. Thank you, and we love you.
Amen. Come on, baby. Somebody was telling me, and I know it's true, that Zach's always saying, come on. So I think he may be from Texas. I don't know. That kind of sounds like a Texas thing to me. But like Mary said, we're so honored to be here. How many of you don't know me and my wife? Like we haven't. You can raise your hand high. It doesn't matter. Jesus will be okay with you. Yeah. So there's a good number of people. Well, welcome to our church. Thank you. You're more than, if you're looking for a church, I think you found one. Hey, doesn't take long to catch on to that, right? But like Mary said, we've been here since 1993. We've been through all the ups and downs that a church goes through, and all I can say is wow, just wow, with what God's doing. And I'm going to probably cry. And I'm not really a crier, which is every time I get together with this guy over here, we start talking. And there's such a I'm sorry. I have such a sense of prophetic destiny. I've been a Christian a long time, getting close to 40 years, and God's been with us. And, when God called me to missions, it was such a profound thing. My wife's the only one that knows this, but I hated Mexicans, and I don't mean kinda. Like, I hated them. I lived in Southern California, and for a lot of different reasons, like I hated them. I don't want to say it was a racist thing. It wasn't racist like I thought they were less than me. Just their culture in Southern California, so I can't think of the word, baby. Yeah, clashed. That's it. There you go. Thank you. So clashed with my culture and different things. I just grew to hate Mexicans, or I thought I did, anyways. And then God says, well, yeah, why don't you be a missionary in Mexico? Which at the time didn't cause, there was no, I didn't have, all that had been taken care of by the love of Jesus when that happened. But the sense of prophetic destiny that I sensed really since last year, but when we got here, like we got off the plane and my mind was just going 100 miles an hour and my spirit was just like, man. And then we walked in here on the first Sunday, and all of you are witnesses to what God's doing here. But, I was just standing at the back, and literally we walked in the doors, and about 10 6-year-olds just, I think Layla might have been in front of them, leading them over there, just running. And I thought, well, that's different. And then I looked up, and I saw so many young families, and it just hit me that that the reason that this body was established, the reason that God wanted this church to exist was right in front of me as I was looking at the kids in these young families and thinking about all the different iterations. That's a word, right? It's because in Spanish. Well, anyways, I won't go into it. Sorry. I haven't preached in English in over 2 years, so you're just gonna have to hang with me a little bit. If I start speaking in Spanish, you'll understand why. But just through all the different things, for you that haven't been here for very long. How many of you have been here less than a year? Less than 6 months? Okay, less than 3 months? Anybody less than 3 months? Okay, right back here. Welcome. This church has a 40-year history. It's a little over 40 years. And we've been here for 27 of them. And I'm looking at a bunch of people that we all were once young, weren't we? But to see God through thick and thin, through the ups and downs, to see him continue what he had always planned is just, I don't know, Pastor. I got to call him Pastor. I don't know, it just shakes me to my core. Because there's some of you guys know what I'm talking about when I say ups and downs. There's some people here that know exactly what I'm talking about. And to see God moving in such a powerful way in the midst of the craziest time that any of us, I don't know about y'all, but the craziest time I've ever lived in has been the last year and a half or 2 years. And in the midst of it, God's moving like crazy. And what I really want to say to you guys, like I got a whole sermon here, but I don't know. Well, not a whole sermon, but anyways. I got stuff here that I would like to say, but if you'll just let me speak from my heart for a few minutes, and then maybe we'll see what happens after that. My wife will probably come up here in a minute and start prophesying over everybody. Because that's what she does. But to see this prophetic, we use the word prophetic in our tribe and in our stream and everything like that, but really what it is to see the will of God being done. We call it prophetic or whatever, all these things that we're trying to figure out, but what we're really talking about is that God has decided that something's going to get done. And, your theology might be a little bit over here, a little bit over there, whatever, but God, at the end of the day, he just does whatever he wants to do. And even though we try to kill it, he's just like, I don't think you can kill it because it really isn't up to you. Has anybody tried to kill the will of God? Oh, a bunch of liars here. Pastor, we're going to have to start praying right now for a spirit of repentance because this is a bunch of liars. How many of y'all have tried to kill? Yeah, there you go. At least I got a couple people that are like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to hide anymore. There you go. I'll put my hand way up. But, what we need to remember is those of you that have been here for 40 years, like my dear, dear, dear friend, Sam Pernicano. Bravo, Samuel. I know it's killing you, and I don't care. I love you too much to care. That we've been staying with him, and he looks a little gruff, but it ain't true. It just ain't true. He's got a big old fat Italian heart, and I love it. I love it. But like they've been in this church like almost from the beginning, and who else has been here 40 years? Anybody else? Close to it anyways? Howard, Joyce. Yeah, you guys, And what I would want to say to you guys, and what I've been thinking about, is all the people that have sown into this piece of property here and into this church. And some of them aren't alive today. As a matter of fact, I hold in my hand the Bible of somebody who sowed into this church for decades, Paul Daniels. It's such an honor for me today to hold his Bible and preach out of it. But I wasn't going to do another thing. You know, I just thought, for me, how more could I honor him? I know a bunch of you don't know who I'm talking about, and that's okay, because you're going to find out one day. You know, because God don't let nothing get by. You know, we're all gonna see how good He's been for all that time. And then some of you that are just barely 3 months, 6 months, you know, without Paul, without Howard and Joyce, and without you, there's something missing. You know, and what they're talking about, you know, what started two weekends ago, forward. You know, well, it's not, oh, come on, we all got to jump on the bandwagon. No, it's forward. Are we running at full stride, going at 100 miles an hour in a 100-yard dash? No, we're just going forward. And what's going to happen is, sooner or later, we're all going to end up where everybody ends up, right? You know, age catches up with you, and you go on, and you're with Jesus. But the kingdom just goes forward. You know, and in Proverbs 22:28, it says, "Do not remove the ancient landmark which your fathers have set." And that scripture has been in my heart since we literally got off the plane, and I didn't look it up. It just, the thought of it had been in my brain. I hadn't looked for it or anything. I actually told Zach today that I thought it was in Isaiah, but I was a little wrong, right? You know, but it's just been in my heart. And you know, there's a lot of ways that you can look at it, but don't remove the ancient landmark which your fathers have set. But that isn't to box us in. The fathers set landmarks, and in other words, and we can use the word altars. You know, altars in the Old Testament were to say, God has been good right here. That's right. And God has been good right here. And these landmarks aren't to box us in. These landmarks are to show us that we can keep going. Whether we've been here 40 years or whether we've been here 3 months. You know, like y'all that just have only been here for a little while, you're in the midst of the will of God being completed. Even though you're like, well, I'm not quite sure what's going on here, you know, and this guy gets up there and I don't know, he's from Las Vegas. Baby. You know, and like, well, he doesn't look like a New Yorker, a Western New Yorker. You know, but I'm just being honest now, but we need them desperately. Desperately. Why? Well, because obviously they've come in here and kind of shook things a little bit. You know what I mean? And we have to accept that and know that we're in the midst of God moving. And these markers that have been set out by our forefathers, you know, I'm thinking of, like, it's been happening all day, just like hundreds of faces of the people that I've known. Some of them are not in the earth anymore, like I was talking about Paul, and others, God's moved them on and they're doing other things in life. But they are all part of what's happening. And it's our time. It's our time, whether we be young or whether we are not so young. But it's our time. You know, we don't want to miss, and if I can say this to all y'all that we've known each other for a long time, we don't want to miss the day of our visitation. Been praying a long time for a lot of stuff. You know, with all due respect, Pastor, but the package is a little like, what's up? Now, nobody else would say this, but I'm going to say it because I know some of them are thinking it. I know Western New Yorkers a little bit, and you know that was the first. I felt like they were supposed to come right from the jump. Steve told me, and I just sensed from the Lord that they were the right things. And my second thought was, that is going to be one clash of cultures in the sense of where they come from and where they're coming to. But we need it. We do. We need somebody who's not tied to the past so that we can go forward. And some of you, Josiah's over here just home run after home run after home run with the youth. We were here on Friday or on Sunday night, and, Sarah's over here. Well, I don't know how many girls, and these girls are just loving her so much, and she's just pouring into them. And I'm like, wow. And the guys are out there, and a couple of weeks ago in the kickoff, they had 54 kids. I know but the rest of y'all know, if you got 54 kids come to church for whatever reason, even if you got pizza and 54 show up, we're talking revival. You know what I mean? And we're all part of it. And we can't think that what was the boundary is the boundary. We got to step over that chicken line and say, all right, I'm all in now. Because if we don't get all in, we could miss the day of our visitation. Is it different? Well, heck, it has to be different. It better be different. But it's the same plan that's always been. When Vernon Smith, and only a few people know who I'm talking about, when he's here preaching, decades and decades ago, about the fivefold ministry, when nobody had a clue. They were just, what, these guys are crazy. Gary Pfeiffer? What? These guys are out of their minds. But you know what those cats were doing? They risked everything. Everything. They put, every single week, they put what little reputation they had on the line for what they knew was God. Was it all good and perfect? Well, no, probably not. And what's happening today isn't all good and perfect. But it doesn't change the fact that it's God. And we don't want to miss the day of our visitation. We don't want to. The will of God. It's so hard for me to wrap my head around this. The will of God is being done in the midst of us that has at least 40 years of life here in the earth. And we are seeing, we are living in, you are participating today in what God has always planned. Zach said it. Hey, I don't think it was this weekend, but the weekend before. I don't know. I've got this prophetic destiny, and I come from Las Vegas. I'm from Los Angeles, Southern California. Me and my wife, by way of Mexico. We meet Carl Jenks and the crew back in the 90s. We need a pastor. God hooks us up, and here we are 27 years later. And me and my wife, we don't look anyplace else. We're not running all over trying to raise funds. And this church, basically, has funded us for 27 years, through thick and thin. And some of you know what thin means. And through thick, when things have been good and when things bad, we haven't missed one paycheck ever. They always made sure that we got our money. Think those kinds of sacrifices, there is nothing that can stop God from blessing that. Nothing. And that's just with us. How faithful has this body been to so many others? Turkey, Africa. Y'all that know what I'm talking about. And that's what I mean when it says don't remove the ancient landmarks. On one end, God has done this. The fathers have set this, but this isn't to hem us in. This is to say, look at how God's been up to here. We can step over that and know that out there, even though we don't know what's going to go on or how that's going to happen, but we have to push, and you young people and you new people here, push with us. Why? Because the fathers set those markers, but today we're the fathers. We're not limited by what they did. Today we pick those up and we move them out farther. Why? Because there are people today that may not even be born that someday are going to come here and they're going to take the baton and they're going to keep going. And we're all going to be dead or almost dead. We're all going to be old. But anyways, I don't want to go off on that. But are you with me? Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Why? Because God's so faithful. At the end of the day, it's all about Jesus. And it's all about what he's doing. You know, there was a prophecy in Daniel that talks about the 70 weeks, and I'm not talking about eschatology or anything like that, because that right now is not the time to do that. But there was a prophecy that came from Daniel that the Hebrew people, or the Jewish people, later latched onto because they knew how to count in God's calendar. And so what happens? Some 400 years or so later, Jesus shows up, according to the prophecy. Well, it was more than 400 years. I don't really remember the timeline with Daniel right now. If somebody knows, they can say it. But my point is that there was a word the Jewish people believed Messiah was coming. That's right, I got a little mixed up there. 400 years of silence between the old and the new, to say it like that. And then all of a sudden, John the Baptist shows up. 400 years of nothing. 400 years. You know, that's a long time on anybody's calendar, right? We'd agree. 400 years. Pretty much silence. And then all of a sudden, he who had been prophesied explodes. And there were people that didn't know that they were in the day of their visitation. They didn't understand. They couldn't capture that God was doing what he said he was always going to do. You know, and like I'm leaving next Tuesday, so I'll just give it all right here. We can't miss it, y'all. Whether you've been here for 3 months or you've been here for 40 years, now's the time. Put your shoulder, I don't know how else to say it, but put your shoulder next to their shoulders. You know, and don't, you know, whatever it is that, and I say this only because I have a lot of experience, there are different leadership styles. Well, we didn't used to do it like that. Thank God. Thank God. That's kind of been a hallmark of our ministry. We'll be going along, God's doing a good thing, and all of a sudden God will just grab my heart and he'll say, and all of a sudden I just turn away from what we're doing and I start going down another, usually it's a theological path, to be honest with you, and I start going down this path, and all of a sudden all these things that I never saw in the kingdom just open up before me, and the only thing I can do is start talking about them. And I've gotten in a lot of trouble for doing that in Mexico. You know, believing in women's ministry, the empowering of women in ministry. You know, our church, we no longer, not everybody knows this as clearly as I'm going to say it right now, but me and Mary no longer pastor, run, or have any authority over the church which we planted. It is now ran by a 34-year-old divorced mother of 2. I'm not saying that with pride. What I'm saying is that God will pick people that you would never, ever in your wildest dreams pick. He will, but if you're stuck in a rut, if you found yourself hemmed in by what the Father's placed there, you won't see it. We won't see it, and then we'll miss it. And dang, I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss it. 400 years of silence, and Jesus comes, and he does everything that he does. He's crucified. And one day, there's these two guys walking back from Jerusalem, headed to Emmaus. And Jesus shows up with these cats. Hey, what are y'all talking about? What are y'all doing? And they carry on. Well, this and that happened. But this is what they said about Jesus. But we were hoping that it was he who was going to redeem Israel. Why am I talking about it? Why am I saying that? They had high hopes, but things happened that they didn't understand. And we've had high hopes here in this church for a long time about things. There's a lot of people who have been praying for revival, whatever that word means to you, for a really long time. And the only way that I know how to say it is to say it straight. Is that all right, Pastor? Am I okay? You can come up here and take this microphone anytime you want to. It's time to stop praying for revival. That's not a theological statement. This is what I want to say to you guys. This is, the people that come on Wednesdays are like, pastors know. Those guys that come on Wednesday, these are the guys you want to be talking to. We love the people on Sunday and everything, but if you're going to come out on Wednesday, there's just a little difference in your idea of what being a Christian is. But why do we not pray? Why shouldn't we not be praying for revival? Because it is here. When I say that, it may not look like what you thought it was going to look like. It may not look like what was happening. And Zach and I, and there's other people too, but we've been highly affected by Bethel Church. You know what I mean? But the last thing that we want to do is try to imitate Bethel Church, because that ain't going to work. Is there good things? Do we love Bill Johnson? Dang, I don't even know what to say to you guys. Sorry. But these guys walking on that road, we thought he was going to be the one. They didn't know they were talking to the one. That's what I mean about revival. Sometimes we don't know, because we're thinking, we thought he was going to redeem Israel. No, he wasn't going to redeem Israel. He was going to redeem the whole world, all of creation. And he was going to, with one sacrifice, he was going to make perfect forever those who have been sanctified. When you start thinking about that, well, anyways, I'm not going to go down that road. But when we understand that Jesus is revival's not something that, revival's a person. And that person lives inside of you. And we live inside of him. There's no separation. There's no, it's like this, like the presence of God comes. This cat just starts singing, Last night we were with him at their house, and I'm just going to tell the story here real quick. And he just sits down with a certain young lady sitting right over here, who we have absolutely fallen in love with. And he just starts playing, and next thing you know, they're just, they just take off, take a little trip, And we're just talking with Rochelle, and I'm watching, and I'm just going like this the whole time. We're talking, and I'm just getting rocked. And I thought to myself, I don't want to get up and go over there, because I'll probably screw it up. So I'll just sit right here, and I'll just take what's coming. But what I want to say, it wasn't that the presence of God had came It was that the presence of God, which had always been, was man. You know, we're so finite, and we so don't understand God that it seems like he's coming from the exterior, but it's not true. When God's presence manifests, it is your inward reality. Whether we understand it or don't. I mean, I'm not saying that there ain't the feels, because like I got the feels right now. But that's not my exterior reality. That is the manifestation of my interior reality. And anytime, anywhere, at any moment, that can and does happen. And we're just in his presence. And his visitation has come. And we know what the end of this story is with these dudes that are walking on the road to Emmaus. Jesus just kind of, like I remember CBs, for those of you that remember CB radios. You know, you're going down the highway and you got to tune that thing just a little bit. Just, you know, you can hear them and it's a little off. You just kind of go like this and boom. And Jesus just kind of tunes them a little bit. Was not our hearts burning within us the whole time he was talking? You bet. I bet the oven was hot. But they didn't know what was going on. Like they didn't get it. And then all of a sudden, boom, they knew. And Jesus said, we'll see you later. And he was gone. I don't get all that. It might be, well, anyways, I won't say anything more about that. Acts 2:23. Peter's talking, and he says this, talking about Jesus, that Jesus, being delivered by the determined purpose and foreknowledge of God. The determined purpose. You know, that word determined is like, hey, this is going to happen. And the determined purpose and foreknowledge of God. The context is Jesus dying on the cross. You know what I mean? And the context is Jesus dying on the cross. By the determined purpose and foreknowledge of God. Why do I emphasize on that? Because we are standing in the midst of the determined purpose and foreknowledge of God. Is more going to come? Well, heck yeah, more's going to come. I have a saying that I use all the time in Spanish. Is, let me say it in Spanish first. No pedimos porque no tenemos, pedimos porque tenemos todo y queremos más. The translation is this: we don't ask for more because we lack. We ask for more because we have everything and there's still more. So wherever we're at in this thing, you know, and I put this right back on these two over here. You know, what God has given over here, this is more. That's what more looks like right there. Is the package like different for y'all? You know, culturally and some of those things? Yeah, well, you know, his leadership style, I don't know, you know, yeah, so what? What are we going to do? Am I going to blow off the day of my visitation because I can't make an adjustment inside myself to what God has done in this man over here and this woman? I don't know about y'all, that would be crazy. That'd be crazy. You know, and I'm not talking because somebody's told me. It's because I got 3 decades of experience in this and I just know. You know what I mean? Like some of y'all are really good at what you do at work. Me too. And I know how to see. I can perceive. I know when God's talking to me. I knew from the get-go. He's the guy. They're the people, because it ain't just him, obviously. And the whole family and everything like that. But there was going to be some people going, what in the world's going on? Because as we know, change is difficult. Don't miss your day of visitation. When you don't understand, get a little closer with your shoulder to them. Even though you don't, just get in and say, man, I don't even get it. but I'm not going anywhere. Galatians 4:4 says, but when the fullness of the time had come, God sent forth his Son. Going back to the idea of a predetermined moment. Encounter, New Hope, North Chili. We are in that predetermined moment. Now is the time. It's not, oh yeah, no, we just need a little bit more so that there's revival. No. You're literally standing in the midst of the days that future generations will turn around and bless our generation for doing what we're doing right now here. Well, why does the church got to get bigger? Well, as somebody said today, you always want a bigger army, don't you? Are we after numbers? No. I always love the way Chris Valentin and Bill said it the same way. We weren't looking to have a big church or have a big anything. We just wanted to change the world. That was the motive of their heart. We just want to change the world. That's all, no big deal. We just want to change the world. Well, how do you change the world? You're one person at a time, but you better have a whole lot of people to do it. So, anyways, yeah. Can we just pray for a minute? Lord. Jesus. Lord, I don't know why I've been found. I don't understand why I've been found worthy to be living in these days. But I'm so thankful that I do. Even though it's hard, Jesus, man. But thank you that you've allowed us to live to see this day and the days that are coming. And though while some of us don't have a whole lot of days maybe left on the earth, we can make those days the best days and prepare a way for our Lord for the coming generations. And I thank you that you would allow us to do that we would be counted worthy to be a part of what you're doing here at Encounter Church. Lord, thank you. Thank you that with eyes of faith, we can look out and see tens of thousands upon thousands upon thousands, that generation after generation is going to reach because we were faithful in our generation. Thank you that you've counted us worthy to do that. I want to do something right now, and I know we got to get in the groups and everything like that, but if we could just have another minute. You know what I want to do? Baby, can you come here for a second? We submit everything that we are to you guys. everything we've ever done, whatever our future is, I submit it to you right now. And you are my pastor. And you got whatever you need, whenever you need it. All you got to do is call. I'll give you anything I got. And to you, Rochelle, also, it's both of you guys, and it's your family. And it's what you're doing here. It's like I told you, we don't have any place else to go. And even if we had someplace else, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go. So I just want to do it. I want to do it publicly, right here with these people. Whatever we got, whatever we do in Mexico or anything like that, it's going to be under your apostolic authority. And I haven't even had a chance to tell you, but the way you prayed for me when I was here with the men, things already started happening. And we're not even there. We don't even have anything to do with the church anymore. But I'm saying that to you because that's the authority you're carrying right now over us and over whatever's happening in Mexico. Okay? You don't got to do it right now. But I would invite you, if you haven't done it, at some point, and please, right now is probably not the time to do it, but at some point, if you feel that in your heart, it would be really good if you came and you said that to him. Because this is a very powerful spiritual reality, spiritual principle. You know, when we submit like that, we get everything. It's just like Jesus. There's nothing different. We submit to Jesus and we get everything he's got. Well, these two got stuff, eh? They got stuff that you absolutely need, and your family needs, and your grandchildren, and the people that you haven't even met yet. But when we submit like that and we say, whatever, man, here I am, el chancludo, that's slewfoot. I think that's another word for the devil, right? It's a southern word for him anyways. Maybe they don't use it up here, but old slewfoot, which means split foot. I don't know if the devil has a split foot or not, but anyways, you understand. You know, when you do something like that, like it cuts off his ability to cause problems. And what are the problems that happen? And I'm talking to the faithful. Like, I get it. I know who you guys are. I'm not like, I know. But whenever the words of the accuser can be cut, because he's going to come around. I mean, if you don't know that, let me invite you. He's going to come around. But when you cut it off, and when you say, I'm submitted, whenever you say, I'm here, whenever you put your shoulder there, he'll come around. But it doesn't take very much to get rid of him. All right? All right. Love you.